How in the world do you bake holiday treats in a tiny little boat kitchen? Hi, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and baking holiday goodies is the topic of today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast. This episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Infinity, the most trusted name in woven vinyl flooring in the marine industry. Since 2008, Infinity has offered boat owners premier flooring options proven to withstand even the most demanding environments. Each of their products is equipped with UV-stable fade resistance and antimicrobial technology, giving them both durability and style that can't be matched. Thinking about kicking carpet to the curb? Make the switch to Infinity and see the difference that true luxury makes. Visit InfinityLWV.com and use the coupon code Galley for 10% off any area rug. Limit one per customer. Baking holiday treats on a boat. A few days ago, I read a blog from a friend about their trials and tribulations baking Christmas cookies on a boat. And it reminded me so much of my first holiday season on the boat, where I tried to do everything exactly the same as I had ashore. As we continued to cruise, each year got a little easier as I began to develop some new traditions. Here's a few quick ideas to make holiday baking a little easier. It can be a real pain to make cookies in a typical galley. The oven is smaller, so it takes a lot longer to bake them all. In turn, that puts a lot more heat into the boat. Counter space is pretty limited, too, making it hard to make one type of cookie while baking another. And if you don't have a mixer aboard, and power, such as shore power, for it, it can be a real workout to make traditional cookie doughs by hand. And hot weather with no air conditioning can instantly melt the prettiest frosting. Rather than be a Grinch and just abandon the idea of Christmas cookies, here are several ways to simplify the operation. Admittedly, many involve starting some new traditions and finding some new family favorites, but there are also ways to adapt old favorites to be more boat-friendly. First, make bars instead of individual cookies. It's a lot faster to bake one 9x13 pan and cut the cookies into 24 or 36 squares than to bake 4 small batches of 8 or 9 cookies each. Not only will you cut down the time spent, you'll cut down the heat in the boat. Now, the obvious choice here is brownies, but you can bake many more traditional cookies as bars. A single recipe of Toll House cookies, the traditional chocolate chip cookie recipe, can be patted down into a greased 9x13 pan, which will fit inside most boat ovens, but do check yours. And you can bake it for 20 to 25 minutes at 375. Sugar cookies also work well baked this way. The dough should be about a half an inch thick in the pan. Sprinkle the top with colored sugar, and so you don't have to make frosting by hand, or have it melt if you're in a hot climate. I've also done peanut butter cookies and ginger snaps this way. Typically, they take between 20 and 25 minutes to bake, but start checking early rather than risking burnt cookies. While gingerbread men are a Christmas tradition, why not make a pan of cake-like gingerbread? If you have powdered sugar, an easy way to decorate it is to either cut strings of gingerbread men out or one large gingerbread man, lay the paper on top of the gingerbread, and sprinkle the powdered sugar around the cutout. Remove the cutout, and the outline will remain. Then there's no-bake cookies. While most no-bake cookie recipes require some cooking on the stovetop, it's usually only for a few minutes, keeping the galley cooler and also not taking nearly as long as baked cookies. A few ideas. You can make Rice Krispie treats. You can color them red or green, or roll them in colored sugar or little silver balls. You can make booze balls. That's a Christmas tradition where I grew up. It was only later in life that I decided they could be made at other times of the year. And you can make them very quickly by pressing them into a pan and cutting in squares instead of making balls. And then there's chocolate oatmeal no-bake cookies. Not as pretty as some of the other options, but everybody always loves them. Another way to make simpler baking is to use recipes that use oil. Whatever you're baking, bar cookies or traditional cookies, if you don't have a mixer, find recipes that use oil instead of calling for you to cream shortening. You generally need recipes that are designed for oil. It usually doesn't work to just substitute it for butter or shortening. These recipes are usually meant to be made by hand and are much easier on the arms. Another trick is that if your preferred recipe does require butter or shortening, leave it out for a few hours to get really soft before trying to cream it with the sugar. Then there's alternatives to frostings. Cream frostings are tough to make by hand, and if you're in a hot climate, they're likely to melt and drip some, even if you do go to the effort of making them. Easier decorations include powdered sugar, dusted over the top in a random pattern, or over a paper pattern to leave an outline when the paper is removed. Colored sugar sprinkled over the top, or press a candy into the top of each bar, either flat or standing up. Lifesavers work well, as do peppermint candies, and they don't melt. Mix a thin drizzle frosting of powdered sugar and milk or water. Color it if you wish, and drizzle it over the top of cookies or bars. No matter what you do for the holidays, stay safe. Don't try to bake in a rolling anchorage. You're likely to burn yourself getting food in and out of the oven as the oven swings. Even if it seems calm, watch out for sudden wakes from passing boats and more. Happy holidays. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Boat Galley podcast. Share with your friends, tell others, and be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app.